Welcome to episode 31 of the We Are Auto Show. How are you today, Derek?
I am doing fantastic, buddy. Now, I know that you sent me over a list of a whole bunch of racing drivers that were coming to our town to race our little oval track in a Cletus McFarland Redneck Special race soon.
Yes, sir. I believe it's called Le Mullets 2.4, I believe is what it is. Is that name sound familiar?
Yes.
I love the naming of it. It's just fantastic. There is some big name drivers coming out. Someone like Jordan Taylor, the OG, the
Whoa.
social media like humorous, amazing driver that makes the best like TikToks and everything of all the IMSA drivers. He's a hoot. He's coming out to race in Le Mullets. Yeah, brother.
Did he race at Le Mans in I think it was a Corvette, right?
Yeah.
Wow. I think on the list was also Haley Deegan, who is a
Mm-hmm.
current NASCAR driver. Um, I have seen, I don't think there was an IndyCar driver. There are basically the who's who of like YouTube and entertainment along those lines, as well as racing drivers that are like starting to get their foot in the door in that area. They're all coming to the Sarasota Bradenton area, which is where we're at, to the Freedom Factory, which is Cletus McFarland's racetrack that he owns. He's
Yeah,
a big
brother.
YouTube dude. And I think we should go to this event, buddy.
I really want to go to this event. And I think if anyone else is listening that wants to go, let us know. We get a little group. But yeah, this is going to be freaking sweet.
Yeah, and you can tell that Les Mullets 2.4 is a play on the Le Mans 24. I believe that
Correct.
there are going to be driver changes as well, which is going to be awesome. And it should
Yeah,
be,
watching a bunch of redneck good old boys try to do driver changes with professional drivers is going to be pretty much hilarious, actually.
it will be hilarious as long as they take safety seriously, which I know in their last event they they do as much as they can with safety while trying to keep it entertaining because they kind of got to straddle the line there. You don't want it to be like an SCCA run event where it's almost so safe that it's almost boring if you're not a driver.
Yeah.
But you want these people to come in here and get content and get stuff for people to watch and be entertaining while being safe. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm hoping they live by the old adage of safety third. That'll be good.
I think it's going to be one of those events. Yeah,
Yeah. So let's start out with some news. Do you have any news for us, Derek?
I do. Did you happen to see the new images of the Z06 C8 Corvette?
I did. I did. Give me your take on the Z06, the new C8 Z06.
I believe they only released one photo of it, from what I can tell. They had the car in camouflage at Detroit or something, the Detroit Grand Prix, which was where the Corvettes were running in their own class and like using it as a test session.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think it looks good, but me and you both think the car's rear end is just completely odd compared to the rest of the car.
Agreed. Yeah, the rear end is still funky in a not so great funkadelic way. Um, so, I put up a post earlier about the C8 Z06. Now, I there's also a little pull out there. I was asking everyone if they think it looks really exciting or really boring. Hmm.
Hmm. It
Ye-
is a Z06, and it's supposed to be more exciting than the base model, right? There are rumored numbers that it's going to have about 120-ish more horsepower than the base model. It's reasonable in a Z06, but I do think that it could have been spruced up a little more than what it is right now.
I like the numbers that it's going to have more power. It's going to have that, I believe, a flat plane crank V8 versus what it's got now. Um, so it's going to sound better. It's going to go better. But it doesn't look Z06-ish enough for me. It looks too base model-ish for me. At, I, it, it's just not. exciting enough. Some of the photos I saw with it in camo had a pretty big wing on the back. This car has to have a wing.
I am with you. I think that that is like the big element that's lacking. It does have some accents on the front. It has some accents on the side where the cooling is, but it's not enough.
Yeah, it doesn't make it special enough to me. Like if you compare the C7 Z06 versus the C7 Stingray, the Stingray looks pretty base modelish. You can tell it's a base model sports car. It'll do the job. It's just kind of a base model car. But the C7 Z06 is much wider. It's much more flared. It's got bigger haunches. It's got a bigger rear spoiler. It's got a more aggressive front lip or front spoiler. It's just got more beef, and it just doesn't look like they gave it. It looks like they gave it more tofu, not more beef, and that's kind of the way I see it.
That's actually a great way to put it. Yeah, I am completely with you. I think it is more tofu over more beef. We'll see what happens when they come out with the ZR1. Also, if this does sound like the old Corvette, I'll be very happy.
I will be very, very, very happy. I fear it won't, but I will be very, very, very happy.
I also fear it won't, but we'll see when they actually release it. The whole specs and everything should be coming out in about a month from now. So we'll circle back around.
Yep, we will come back to that for sure.
Cool. So do you have any news to chat about?
I do. I have some news from Acura about the new Integra. I know we kind of chatted about the Integra a while ago when they were first teasing it, and I was getting all sweaty palms and really excited because that was like my teenage love affair was the Integra. I pretty much had a mental image of an Integra Type R that I almost made love to every day back in high school. I loved that car so much. And the new Integra is not going to be a coupe.
Well, why? Wait, what?
It is going to be a hatchback like the original Integra, but it's not going to be a coupe like the original Integra. It's going to be a four-door hatchback. How do you feel about this?
I don't like this at all. I don't like this.
That. Not a fan. Yeah. They should. That makes me very kind of just almost a little disappointed because the whole point of the Integra, the whole point that the Integra even exists is it's going to be front wheel drive. It's going to be a front wheel drive sports coupe that is light, rev the nuts off of, and handles very, very, very well for a front wheel drive car. I fear that the only thing that that's going to have in common with the original Integra is the fact that it's got the word Integra on it and it's got a hatch on the back. And that is what I'm really scared of.
This feels to me kind of like the NSX.
Kinda.
I don't think that they did the new NSX justice to the old NSX.
I would agree. I think the old NSX was a pure lightweight handling machine, and the new one just got kind of heavy and heffalump-y.
Yeah, and like that might just be a symptom of modern cars where they're at today, but it's unfortunate that that's probably going to happen to this car as well.
Well, we must go back in time then. We must. We need a DeLorean, Derek. We need a DeLorean flux capacitor. Bring us back to 1996 when the Integra was jamming and it was a lightweight front-wheel drive coupe that handled great.
I would love to. And you can still find those cars out there if you want to go get one. It's not going to have
$60,000.
It's going to be overpriced. It's going to be high on mileage. It's probably not going to have AC, but you can go get it. Yeah. We'll see what ends up happening.
If I already had the sports cars that I want, like multiple 911s, things like that, and I had a lot more just disposable income, I would buy an OG Integra Type R. But I am not super excited about this new Integra being four-door. That gives me an uncomfortable feeling.
It does to me as well. And looking back on what they've done with the NSX doesn't help either. It's the same company doing it, and it's going to be heavier. It's going to be more luxury-esque. We'll see what happens, but I don't have high hopes at the moment.
Yeah, so that's the new Integra. It's not a two-door, it's a four-door. You have anything else, Dirk?
I do. So I happened to catch this story the other day, and I wanted to toss this one your way because I knew it would just grind your gears. So, do you know the company, I believe it's Omaze? Have you ever heard of them?
I have heard of them. Yep.
Yeah.
They
so
do
they'll take
giveaways, right?
They do giveaways. And they'll take cars that are old classics or something like that, spruce them up, and then give them away. I don't remember exactly how they turn a profit off of these giveaways, but I know that it's either data mining or something like that. Something to do with data is how they make their money. So they decided it was a good idea to take a 1969 Porsche 912, take the engine out of it, put some batteries in it, and put some Tesla motors in it.
No, 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 please, God, no. I feel like Michael Scott from The Office. No, God, no. Go, God, please, no, no. That is the worst thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Omaze, you suck.
Yeah, this one, I don't actually like this. That car is not meant to have an electric anything. It's meant to be, I believe it's an old air-cooled Porsche, right?
Yeah, that is an old air-cooled
yeah.
Porsche, which would be, with its proper air-cooled engine, that would be a hoot to drive. It would make a great little hum. It's lightweight, not anymore now that you have a boot full of batteries. It just would be a great driver's car. Now,
I like my EVs, but this put shame to the EVs, in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel like this is crossing that like uncrossable line. Like there's always someone that's like, I'm gonna do it, and everyone's like, you really just shouldn't do that. That's like you just don't do that. You don't just do that. That's just
No, that car should be air cooled. It should be restored, but it should be restored by like Rensport or someone like that will properly restore one of those Porsches to its old famous glory with some modern interior, but keep the heritage and feel of that car.
Yep, 100%. 100%. That's exactly what it should be, and not what it is.
Yes. So, do you have any more news?
I do have some more news that actually somewhat kind of piggybacks off of your news. So I do have some more Porsche news, and it's Porsche news that I am not particularly a fan of, but the entire 718 line is going electric.
The 718 line?
Which is what is now the Boxster and the Cayman.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So Porsche at one point went from just calling it the Boxster and the Cayman to the 718 Boxster, the 718 Cayman.
I see.
So by 2024, in 2025 is when all the 718 Boxsters and Caymans are going electric.
By 2025? Wow. Okay.
That's pretty soon, and I don't like that.
That's pretty soon, but it feels about right to me. Because I feel like if they brought out a full electric car right now, which they have done their SUV, but I that's like a prototype. It feels like that's a prototype to me. These, I feel, will be proper production cars because they're going to have to pump these out in numbers. What's the current electric car? I can't remember the name of it.
The Taycan.
The Taycan.
And the Taycan Cross Turismo or Sport Turismo. The Cross Turismo.
Right.
Yeah.
So those have okay numbers, if I recall. It was like 200-ish miles of range or 250. Okay, it's not bad. It's your first take at an electric vehicle. Totally understandable. And it's their first foray into it. So I feel like when these come out, they'll have a couple years and knowledge of what's going on with the Taycan. They'll have an understanding of how the batteries are going to perform. And hopefully we get a 300, a 350, maybe a 400-mile Boxster. That'd be great.
That'd be something. I'm not gonna call it great, but that'd be something. Like to me, the issue that I run into here is this whole 718 line, the Boxster and the Cayman. The whole point of it is to be kind of an entry level, lightweight sports car. Yes, that you can just have fun in the mountains. It'll make a nice little noise. It's comfortable. It does a little bit of everything pretty well. I fear that an electric version won't be lightweight. That's what I worry about.
It probably won't be, at least not the first few iterations of it. In the first few iterations might not be great. That's why I'm hoping that this Taycan experiment sorts all those problems out. We'll find out and see, but you know what they're not doing is they're not taking their famed 911 like Ford did with their Mustang and using that badging to make their first electric car. So I give them props for that.
That I think if they actually turn the 911 fully electric right off the bat like that, I think it would actually kill me.
Yeah, I think it would kill you, and I think it would really go through the heart of the Porsche community big time. And that's why they're not doing this.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know the Porsche also released a new electric race car called the Mission R. It's, I will admit, I like the look of it, and here's what's kind of different about it is it's the first of my knowledge that is a GT electric car. It's a race car only, so it's it's the race car version of what the 718 is essentially supposed to be, right? It's a more GT race car that's electric, whereas all the other EV companies that are doing electric racing are all doing Formula E, which is even more boring than Formula Boring. I mean, that's just the Formula most boring.
Yes, but I believe Porsche does have a Formula E team, don't they? I
They
think
do,
they
and
do.
no one
Yeah,
cares because it's Formula E, because in Formula E sucks.
I do agree. This electric race car that they've done, this Mission R, is
Mm-hmm.
another prototypey vehicle, it feels to me, which is fine.
Yeah, they
It's,
have actually announced that it is going into production.
but I don't think it's going to replace their 911 GT3, right? Like,
It's not. I think what it's going to do, I think they're going to make a spec series for it. I think they're going
uh,
to do like a Mission R spec series. I like the look of the Mission R. I think it looks kind of cool, partly because I'm also just a fan of like GT cars versus open wheel stuff. I just like the look of it better. Um,
it it
I
looks
just
decent.
don't know.
It's got like the Taycan feel on the front. It's got
Mhm.
it doesn't really have much Porsche heritage on the rest of it to me, but
Correct. It just looks like a race car, is what it looks like to me.
yeah,
Just
it's
like a race car that says Porsche on it.
right. Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
yeah,
It's going to be very
yeah.
interesting as we go into this transition to electric racing, what ends up happening. Because I do think we only have 5 to 10 years left of internal combustion racing in road racing.
I'm hoping for 15 at least, but I fear that you're right.
Yeah, I'm with you, bud.
Yeah. So, shall we move on?
Let's move on.
All right. So, did any races happen over the past what week? I suppose there, Dirk.
So there were some races. There was an IMSA race and an F1 race that I'd like to chat about. Which one would you like to start with?
Let's start with the IMSA, and I'm going to preface this and tell you right away. I have not watched any of it because I've just been working. So, I'm going to let you give me the entire spiel and rundown.
All right, no problem. IMSA was at Long Beach, so they're in California. They're right along the coast there in California, which is pretty cool. It's a very tight,
Yep.
compact street circuit. It's very famous for having like a 90-degree hairpin turn that the cars have to come to like 25 miles an hour or something stupid slow to get there. IndyCar
Yeah.
also ran at that track. I believe that Alex Palou won the championship in the IndyCar event, and that was their last race of the season. So good for him.
I think you're right as well.
Yep, and Colton Herta won the race in Indy. But I will bring it back around to IMSA because that's what we enjoy watching a little bit more.
Yes,
Um,
please.
The race itself was not very drama filled. It only had 3 classes. It had DPI, it had GT Le Mans, and it had GTD. So you had your Porsches going against your Corvettes. Actually, your Porsche, singular, going
Yes.
against your 2 Corvettes. And that was all that was in the GTLM class, sadly. And in that class, guess who won?
I'm going to take a shot here. Was it either a Corvette or a Porsche?
Yes. Both of the Corvettes finished ahead of the Porsche. It was not even a close
wow.
race. I didn't, when I saw the Corvettes come across the line, they were 40 seconds ahead of the Porsche. It was a long way. So,
Oh,
yeah.
oh, that's pathetic. That's pathetic. But I do want to just piggyback off of something that you just said real quick, because as I was scrolling through social, and I have to call out Cooper McNeil just for a minute. So he posted a picture of him like chugging champagne with like a super stoked, like, yeah, podium finish. Yeah, well done. Great podium finish. Don't want to discredit that, but dude, you got third out of third. You got third out of 3 places. Yeah. So for everyone listening, everyone has seen the meme of like the podium steps with first place standing there quietly holding their trophy, second place standing there quietly holding their trophy, and third place like pouring champagne all over themselves, biting their bronze medal. That was literally the meme come to life with the WeatherTech team. I love Porsche. You know, I'm a Porsche fanboy at heart, but I have to rag on them because that was just hilarious. They were a meme come to life.
As you should. Yes, they were a meme come to life. But that is just the status of the moment for GTLM. And that's about to all go away next year anyway. So you will have a proper GT fight in those classes soon. Anyway, DPI, the top class, the prototypes, Felipe Nasr and Pipo Durrani win. And I believe it was the Wheel and Engineering Cadillac. I will say that the Cadillacs were way better than any of the other prototypes that were there. The Mazdas were comparably slow. The Acuras also comparably slow. I think all 3 of the top guys were in the Cadillac DPIs. So smells like BOP to me.
I was
Probably
just
is
about
BOP.
to say that sounds very BOP wizardry happening there. And for those of you that aren't familiar with the term BOP, that's balance of performance, where some people get slowed down and some people get sped up. Sounds like some of the Cadillac boys have an in with the BOP officials and maybe slipped them a 20 or something.
I think you're right. Balance of performance is a necessary evil at the moment in sports car racing. In the GTD class, we had the Paul Miller Racing Lamborghini Huracan that took first. I will say they were another team that was 20 plus seconds ahead of second place when they won the race.
Jesus,
like
that's
BOP,
not even close.
Feels like BOP, probably BOP. But
Yeah.
Brian Sellers and Madison Snow did take the win in GTD. It was a good race. There were not too many incidents, and the quality of racing was decent. It felt like a good, solid IMSA race, but I do wish there was slightly more drama. Because sometimes, even though it's IMSA, and even though they're passing a lot and all that stuff, it can feel bland.
It can. So I remember a few years back, there was an IMSA race at Long Beach, and it was insane. It was, I don't remember, for anyone that's listening or watching, there was I think it was like the last or second to last lap or something like that. And there was like a 3-way fight for the lead in like the GTLM class. And it was that really tight and sharp, I think that right-hander. And everyone piled in, and it was just a massive traffic jam. No one could get by. It was just people piling in and piling in and piling in and piling in. A little bit of that is fun to watch.
That happened I believe in the IndyCar race. There was an incident where somebody got spun around at that corner, and to watch guys just come piling in and smashing each other. It's entertaining. It's fun.
It is entertaining. Yeah. I like a bit of that, but I don't want it to just only be that.
Yeah, and I don't want to see everybody's race get ruined because of it either. So,
correct.
one
Correct.
incident there where a couple cars doink into each other. I'll take it.
Yeah, yeah. Do want to piggyback again. So GTD, the local legend Patrick Long did come in third. He's originally from Long Beach, so I did want to just mention him real quick.
Yes, Mr. Porsche.
Hometown fans. Yep, hometown fans. He gets to get a podium in front of hometown fans. So good for him.
IMSA race, always good to watch. If you want to go watch it, go for it. It's up on YouTube already. But let's talk about a more boring racing series, Formula One.
Formula boring?
Which this week was way more entertaining than IMSA.
What? Wait. What?
I hate to break it to you, but F1, dude, this week was really good.
Well, I missed that. This sucks. I wish I saw it.
You should probably at least go check out some highlights. Let me set the scene, okay? We go into the event. I believe that Hamilton and Verstappen, the Red Bull and the Mercedes, are within 5 points of each other, like something super close, essentially.
I was gonna say, I know they're close.
Yeah, the championship race is going to come down to the wire, which is exactly what we wanted in the beginning of this season. So both of them go in. The Red Bull takes an engine penalty because they want to change out engine parts. So that puts Max Verstappen to the back of the grid. This is something that I believe Lewis is going to do within the last few races here of the season as well. So Red Bull bit the bullet before Mercedes did.
Okay.
He starts the race last. The race is cruising around, and actually Mr. Lando Norris is in the lead for a decent amount of the race.
Really?
Yes. And Hamilton did not start particularly well. I think he started down near the middle of the grid. Max Verstappen was trying to push his way up through the grid. He was doing a decent job throughout most of the race. But every time a Red Bull or a Mercedes got stuck behind a McLaren, it was always a battle for them to pass. And I noticed it didn't matter who it was. It didn't matter if it was Max Verstappen or Lewis Hamilton. If they got stuck behind Lando Norris or Daniel Ricciardo, they couldn't pass. They just couldn't. Which is...
Oh, gee golly.
It's good and bad. Like, I want to see more racing. I want to see more passing. But I also want to see not those two teams dominate. So I'm glad that McLaren is in the battle. Yeah. What ends up happening next, though, was crazy to watch. There were always clouds looming on the horizon, and you kept on getting the camera shot of the radar with 30 laps to go, and the rain is getting closer. 25 laps to go, you get another camera shot of the rain getting closer. And the guys have already made all their final pit stops. They all have perfect fuel to make it to the end of the race. Lando Norris is battling it out with Lewis Hamilton charging behind him. Lewis Hamilton gets to Lando Norris with about 10 laps left. And for 5 of those laps, Lando's just fighting him off. And it's getting darker and darker and darker and darker. And then with 5 laps remaining, it opens up. It opens up slowly, though. So a couple drizzles on one part of the track, and they skate through a little bit. A couple drizzles are coming down further across the track, and they're skating through, and the battle for the lead is going on while this rain is coming down. We get to about 3 laps remaining, and there's a call to Hamilton that says, box for inters. So he wants to go to inters.
Ooh, okay.
His team thinks they're at the threshold where we can swap over and we can gain the time back and win the race, because these two are they're like a minute and a half ahead of everybody else in the race. It's basically the battle for the win. He skips pit road. He doesn't even come in. So both Lando and Lewis are out on slicks battling for the race win with, I think it was 4 laps to go. On that 4th lap, they are just skating, and the whole rest of the field is coming in. The entire rest of the field has already been in. They've put on inters or slicks or rain tires to make it so that they can make it to the end of the race. Sure enough, a call comes over Lando's radio that says, "Do you want to pit?" They put it up to him, and he says no. And they tell Hamilton, box. Hamilton does come in with 3 laps remaining. Takes his tires, takes his 30-second penalty. Sure enough, Lando tries to stick it out, ends up spinning out, ends up costing him the race. he comes in afterward. I think he finished second or third. No, he finished way back because he spun
Lando?
and lost a
Yeah.
ton of time. Yeah.
Oh, that
So
sucks. I would have loved to have seen him win.
in the chaos, though, what ended up happening is Red Bull made a really good decision and got Verstappen in early to gain something like 7 or 8 positions by within those last 5 laps.
Oh wow. So
He
I'm
made the
I'm
correct
assuming
rain call.
Red Bull was like, all right, let's throw some wets on, get out there and just slice and dice through the field.
Yes. And it was heartbreaking to watch Lando make the call in the moment that was wrong.
Because I'm sure in his brain he's thinking it's only a few laps. Even if I have to dance a little bit, I'm sure I can dance a little bit here and there. I can wiggle out of a corner, but it keeps me from wasting however long going through pit road. I would have loved to see Lando take a win.
I know.
God, that is heartbreaking.
It was super heartbreaking to watch, but the entertainment value was super high, and I wish that the team would not have asked Lando, because they asked him at a point, I believe, in the track where it was pretty dry, and he just
so
said,
of course
like,
he's gonna say, "I'll stick it out."
yeah, he said, no, I'm staying on him. And by the time he gets to pit road on the next lap, it is full wet conditions.
Oh,
It was really unfortunate.
that's not a very good call, unfortunately.
So we end up having Lewis Hamilton winning the race. We end up having Max Verstappen second, and we end up having Carlos Sainz and the Ferrari come third. I will say the Ferraris did pretty well at that event.
Okay, so we got a third for Anna Ferrari, and then where did a McLaren finish? Because I'm a big McLaren fan. I love to see McLaren try to claw back.
So there was Daniel Ricciardo fourth, and Lando Norris somewhere down in like 8th or 9th. He still got points, but
I was gonna say fourth is still some decent points.
it is for a team who has not been like stepping on the podium very often, but is having a much
Correct.
better turnaround right now. But you look at that and you go, we had Lando Norris in the lead with like 3 laps to go in the race. Yeah, it's a bad weekend.
Yeah, that's crummy. I hate to see it.
Yes.
I hate to see it.
So it was not Formula boring. It was actually Formula very entertaining.
Well, bummer I missed it. I wish it wasn't working for that.
You did miss
Dang.
it, but you should go check out the highlights.
I think I will. So I guess let's stick on the topic of weather for a second. So
Okay.
apparently there was some bad weather in Sochi. Speaking of bad weather, I want your opinion. What are the best cars like to drive in weather? All the different types of weather. Rain, snow, whatever.
Okay, well, I can tell you it's not a Subaru BRZ. I think that was probably a given.
From experience, yeah, I would imagine.
Yep, that car does not do well in rain or sleet or ice or snow. No, it's got to be sunny. That's about all it does. All right, let's break this down. So, what do you think the best car in the rain? Pouring rain. We know this well in Florida. We get it all the time. You will be at a stoplight, and there will be a wall of gray stuff by the next stoplight. And by the time you get there, you can't see anything, and the road is completely flooded.
It's actually funny you mentioned that. I just had a student this past week, and she was mind blown because that exact situation happened. We were going down the road, and I said, "Look up, it's gonna rain in about 5 seconds." And 5, 4, 3, 2, pouring rain. It's like, oh my god, told you. That's exactly Florida, just like you said. Yep.
It's amazing how often that happens in Florida too. But what do you think the best rain car would be?
All right, so, my brain went hot hatch here.
Okay. I can see why you would think that. You're not going to really lose traction. It's front wheel drive. It's going to be safe. Worst case, you understeer, which in my opinion, for most drivers, is easier to save than oversteer.
In rain, that's fine
Yeah.
for the most part.
Okay, what
My
hot hatch?
my brain immediately went hot hatch, and I thought Golf GTI. It's got a good differential, so it can keep you alive. It's not so powerful that you're just gonna just absolutely spin tires everywhere you go. I mean, you can still have fun with it. It's got a high enough ride height so that if you go through a puddle, you don't get lost, you don't get drowned in a puddle. It's my brain just immediately went Golf GTI. When I thought rain, I thought hot hatch would do just fine. You can have some fun lift off oversteer, but you're also not like going way so fast. You don't have 800 horsepower. It's just kind of a good car to drive in the rain, in my opinion.
I like that pick. I do like that pick. I think that is a solid, safe, but still fun pick.
Yeah, that's kind of where my brain went. That's immediately I thought rain. I kind of like a hot hatch for that. So,
Okay.
what's your rain pick?
You're not going to like this, but I'm going to do it
Don't
anyway.
tell me. Just don't. I know what you're going to say. Does it start with a T and end with an Esla?
It is what I would call American made.
God damn it.
It does use electrons down the wire to propel itself forward. And it does have a CEO that's got a big Twitter following. And it does have a lot of cameras around it. Yeah, it's a
Derek.
Tesla.
Derek, no. Come on.
Hear me out.
Don't do that.
Okay. The reason I think that this would actually be a good rain car is because it does use all the computers and all the cameras on it to determine where it is in relation to other things. And if you watched their Tesla AI day, they actually did have some impressive stuff in the rain and in the snow. Their cameras were a lot better than humans at picking up where the lane lines were and where other cars and other objects were in those conditions.
Okay.
So, I think that would be the safest car for you to drive in those kind of conditions. Do I think it would be the most fun? No. But my pick is more along the safety side. And I think when you're in a torrential downpour and there's lightning smashing everywhere around you and you can't see more than 5 feet in front of you, your number one priority is just not dying.
I don't like the no. Derek, come on. Don't pick a Tesla. Just don't do that.
I mean, I think I make my case pretty good.
Unfortunately, if you were a lawyer, the jury would side with you here.
Okay, I'm glad. So rain, I pick a Tesla, and you pick a Golf GTI. Let's talk about some snow.
All right, let's do it. I like driving in snow. Have you driven in snow before?
I've driven in snow a handful of times, not many at all.
I drove in snow with my front wheel drive Jetta GLI back when I lived in Colorado, going to the mountains to go ski. I enjoy it. I might be one of those weird mental people that just really enjoy it, because literally every single time I could, that handbrake was coming up and I was going around in about 8 circles because it was just so much damn fun. Everywhere I went, I would pull into work. And this is back when I was a million years ago working in banking. We had a big wide open parking lot and my boss would be pulling in at the same time as I would. And I'm literally yanking that handbrake, doing 4 circles into the parking spot while he's just looking at me, shaking his head like, you moron.
Yes.
You can't not do that. You can't not do that.
No, you can't. I'm totally with you. The time that I did drive in the snow and sleet and ice, there were warnings about black ice. So I was way more tense and cautious than it seems like you were. You were way more familiar with the area and the roads, and you had confidence.
That, and I also had an ace up my sleeve. I had actual snow tires, not just all seasons, but actual snow tires. Those instill a metric crap ton of confidence in you.
Okay. I don't have that experience yet, and I don't really know if I want it.
It's kind of fun.
Okay.
Call me crazy.
So,
All
what
right.
do you think would be the best snow vehicle, considering you've actually driven in the snow?
All right. So in snow, you want first and foremost, tires are actually, in my opinion, the most important thing for driving in snow. It's not if you've got all-wheel drive. It's not anything like that. It's literally just tires. I would rather take I would rather take a Corvette on snow tires than a Subaru Outback on summers in snow. All day long.
Wow, it's
All
that big
day
of a
long.
difference.
It is that big of a difference. So, in my opinion, the perfect snow car, and I've kind of wavered. It is an Audi. I've wavered between two Audis. Between the RSQ8, because it's higher, and the RS6 Avant. But I'm going to say the RS6 Avant on snow tires is the ultimate snowmobile.
Huh. Okay. Why is
Couple of
that?
reasons. One, it's heavy. If you're driving in snow, weight is good. Weight is very good. You want as heavy of a behemoth of a thing to press as much pressure onto the ground as you can, which is why front wheel drive cars are notoriously better in snow than rear wheel drive cars. So it's a heavy thing. I think it weighs like 5,000 pounds or something ridiculous like that. It's got Audi's legendary Quattro all-wheel drive system, which we know from the rally days just can chew through anything in its path. And it's got a big trunk. It's a wagon. So what are you going to do in the snow? You're going to go skiing. Skis and snowboards. They're long, so you need a long thing to put them in. Henceforth, the RS6 Avant, it is the perfect snowmobile.
You're spot on. Curb weight of 4,982 pounds. I think you
It's
were off
heavy.
by 18 pounds. A 4-liter V8. Not bad.
But also, let me piggyback off that as well. If you're driving in snow and you're going to the mountains to go skiing, you're probably going to be in higher altitudes, which means you don't necessarily want naturally aspirated. You want forced induction, which turbocharged 4-liter V8. Okay, so there's that. Keep on. Yeah, you see
Making
my thought path here.
600 horsepower. Whoo!
Oh yeah, it's a lot. It's a monster.
It's a spicer. Price though, 100,000, a little bit over 100,000, like $112,000.
They're not cheap. No. There's nothing about this that's cheap whatsoever. But it's the ultimate car if you live in a snowy climate.
I can't disagree with that, but I might have a better pick.
You actually can't really get a better pick though.
Why would you not have a better pick with a Subaru WRX STI?
I get the rat. See, we both went two different ways from the rat. We both started at rally, and we went rally sports car, rally ultimate daily. Which
Yep.
rally divergence would we like? I like your pick of the Subaru STI. I initially thought STI, but then I thought, it's a little too pain in the ass-ish for driving in snow.
Okay, it doesn't have the giant weight that yours does. The price, though, way better. It's like under half of what you got. It's around like 40 grand. But it is smaller. It will drive well. It's all-wheel drive. It's Subaru. Good at rally. We know that. From what I know, if you're mountain driving, it's a great car.
Yeah. A lot of buddies in Colorado still have Subarus.
But I'm starting to side with you that if it was a pure snow car, that Avant would probably be better because of the weight.
If I was still living in Colorado and say I was living in a mountain town, somewhere like Telluride or Aspen or Vail, if I had a bunch of extra money and I was looking for like a dedicated daily use it in the snow, the RS6 Avant on proper snow tires, that's kind of almost unbeatable in my opinion.
Okay, I'll give you that one, and I'll say the WRX STI is the runner-up.
I will give you that runner-up for the WRX STI just because it's more fun. I bet.
It would be more fun to drive for sure, but the Avant wouldn't be bad. It'd just be bulky compared to the STI, which would be nimble and slidey and a lot of fun to drive.
You would. You would. For
So
sure.
let's talk about what we think the all-around best sports car: snow, rain, wind, whatever you want, any sort of weather conditions.
Okay. So, I'll go first.
Okay.
So you know me. You already know where my brand loyalty lies. Everyone that's listening and watching, you know that I'm a Porsche guy. The ultimate do everything sports car is a Porsche 911 Turbo S. It just is. You cannot disagree with it. It is all-wheel drive. It is forced induction. It is bigger and heavier, but it's also a monster, and it can rip through a track. It can do it all. It can drive in the snow. It can drive in the rain. It can drive on the track. It can drive to your mom's house and go show up for Sunday dinner. It can do everything, and it does it all beautifully. If I was going on a transcontinental road trip rally and I had to bring only one car with me, it would be a 911 Turbo S. It's comfortable, it's powerful, it's got great all-wheel drive, it's forced induction, so you're not going to lose a lot of horsepower when you get into altitude. It's the perfect all-around sports car. It just does. That is the answer.
The only problem I have with it is it's very expensive.
Well, of course it is. Of course.
Okay, let me throw a car at you that would be way less expensive, can haul a lot more, has more seats.
No, it doesn't. I don't think it has more seats. There's
How
no
many
way.
seats does a 911 Turbo S have?
It's got 4, technically.
Really? There's a back row of seats?
Yeah. They're quote unquote seats.
Okay, all right, come on.
Which is what all sports cars actually. Derek, would you tell me that your BRZ has back seats? It has back seats. It has back seats. But are they back seats?
No. You can't fit any human in there.
So it's the same thing with the Turbo S's back seats. They're back seats as far as manufacturing goes, but we know humans aren't getting it back.
Okay, hear me out. What about a Nissan GTR? The reason I say this is because it's going to be a little heavier. It's going to have the all-wheel drive, and we know that their all-wheel drive is pretty decent. It's going to be far less expensive than your 911. I don't know off the top of my head if it has usable seats in the back, but I would imagine it has more cabin room than your 911. It would be good in the rain because it's slightly heavier. It would be a comfortable ride that you actually can put things like in the trunk and have more cabin space.
I see where you're going. I respect it, but I don't like it.
The GTR would be, in my opinion, a more comfortable ride. The 911 would be the more fun ride.
Have you ridden in a 911 Turbo S?
No, not a Turbo S.
They're so comfortable.
Have you ridden in a GTR?
No.
Okay, neither have I. But just looking at the weight and just the overall appearance of the cars, I would imagine that the GTR could be a little softer. That's just my take. I could be wrong on that.
All right, I respect your pick, but I'd much rather have a 911 Turbo S.
Yeah, that's because you're a fanboy. That's fine.
Well, I am, but it's the perfect sports car to do everything. Rain, dry, sun, snow, sleet, everything.
I mean,
everything.
Okay. Is it a convertible? A
You
cabriolet,
can,
as they would call
it
it.
can be. It can be if you'd like it to be.
If you're gonna put it through wind and rain and snow and ice and stuff, like,
I wouldn't get a convertible. I'm not that ridiculous. But you
fine.
could if you wanted. You could option it as a convertible, a cabriolet, as they may say. I would
Hmm.
never do that. That's just ridiculous. No, no, no. No, 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 no. Not unless you're living in South Beach.
We'll tie on that one. Fine.
All right. Agree to disagree.
All right, let's round it off with the doomsday vehicle. Weather has
Ooh,
gone to
okay.
hell. The world's gone to hell. Nuclear bombs are dropping. What are you gonna get?
All right. You may or may not have ever even heard of mine. It does come from all of my picks. I just realized this. Every one of my picks have come from Germany. The Germans know how to build cars. What can I say? So I am picking a Mercedes Unimog is my end of the world doomsday. I will drive through walls. I don't care what's in front of me. I will go through it.
Wait, what was it?
A Unimog. So a Mercedes Unimog. Unimog, I believe is how you spell it.
What the heck is a Unimog?
It's a monster. It's just a giant beast of a thing. It's like a German tank thing. It's great. That's the best way I can describe it. It's like a German tank truck thing that just goes over and or through every single thing in the world. I don't know or care what it is. It just goes over or through it. And it's just incredible. I would get a Unimog. Absolutely, I would get a Unimog.
Okay, for those who are listening, a Unimog looks to me like it has a Hummer chassis and giant wheels, and then they put a bed on it, like a really big bed, and then a huge cabin that could fit probably like 10 people if you crammed them there real good. And its
With a
clearance,
snorkel.
it has a
It has a
snorkel. The
snorkel.
clearance is 3 feet off the ground. It has a giant wind chime. Yeah, it's a
This
military Humvee for like normal people.
dude, it would actually go over like a proper military Humvee. Because in military Humvees, I think its clearance is only like a foot and a half or 2 feet or something like that. Dude, these things are Unimogs are properly massive and they are properly like take over the world kind of a vehicle. And I love them to death for it. And every once in a while, I'll start going through Bring a Trailer, and all of a sudden, I fall deeply, madly in love with some stupid ass Unimog, and I start looking at every dollar I've ever had and thinking, if I liquidate every penny I've ever had, can I buy this Unimog? Do I need it? And the answer is always yes, but somehow, some way or another, I don't end up doing it. God damn it, I want a Unimog so bad. They're so cool. Oh,
What are
they're
you
so
gonna do
cool.
with the Unimog? You live
Drive
in
it everywhere.
Sarasota. You couldn't
I
get it
don't
through the
care.
roads.
That's great. Then I'll go over the roads. I'll drive over whatever's in front of me. I'll go through it and over top of it. I wouldn't need to go over speed bumps. I would just flatten them. What was that? Was that a Toyota Corolla in front of me? Oh no, it was just a speed bump. Pardon me. Yeah, that's fine. I want a Unimog so bad. It is ridiculous, and I want one so bad.
The chassis of the Unimog is about at the height of the roof of the BRZ.
I could just go over your BRC.
I think so. I might be able to park the BRZ under the Unimog.
I think it would be close, but I think you probably could. Yeah, at least the nose.
That's
of it.
crazy. Okay, it is
So-
a doomsday vehicle, so I'll give you that. It's a good pick. It's very rugged. It wouldn't be very
Very.
comfortable to live in. You're like, but it'd be
I don't
great
need
at
that.
moving around and getting over stuff and driving through stuff. And okay,
Of course, there's no weather that could phase that.
no, there's definitely no weather.
So, what's your end of the world doomsday pick?
There's one vehicle that's very well known
Mm.
for being the pickup that doesn't die. And I think with
Ooh.
that, you know where I'm going with this.
I do, as soon as you said that doesn't die, I could. It is. Are you going towards the unkillable truck?
Uh-huh. So
Okay.
there are trucks that are driven around in Saudi Arabia and Afghanistan and the Middle East. You see the crazy militaries over there firing their AK-47s off the bed of them all the time. They fit like 20 people into them. The bed is always packed full of a whole bunch of weapons and whatnot. And they're driving around a Toyota Hilux.
Of course. Yeah,
that is the unkillable truck, as Top Gear proved. They dropped it off a building. They smashed it with a wrecking ball. They drove it into salt water. It just didn't die. So it's not as tall or as good at getting around things as your Unimog would be. But you know what? It doesn't die.
I have to respect that. I am a bit of a Toyota truck guy. I really like and respect your pick of the Hilux, the unkillable truck. I like that pick a lot.
You can't go wrong with a Toyota Hilux. And honestly, if you can get your hands on a Toyota Hilux right now, do it, because even in 100 years, the damn thing will still be running.
Oh, easy. I'm sure that will be the last running internal combustion engine ever to see the light of day. Once everyone else has been turned into cyborgs, there will still be Hiluxes roaming around.
I'm pretty sure they put sand in the oil over there, and it still runs without any problem. It's insane what that truck will do.
100%. It's ridiculous, which is why it's a great pick, and I admire that pick of yours so much. It's perfect. I love it.
Cool.
You can't go wrong.
End of the world trucks. A Unimog, which I had never heard of until now, and a Toyota Hilux.
I like the picks. All right. So, have you been able to get out of the house at all, Derek, this past week?
I have. I've been driving around town, buddy, and I've seen some interesting stuff.
Have you?
Yes. So I want to start it off with a car I saw, I think it was last week. It was an Acura TLX Type S.
Ooh.
So I normally wouldn't bring this up, but you see a lot of TLXs around. That's no problem. But what you don't see are the Type S's.
Correct. You don't typically see TLX Type S's.
And I noticed that it was a Type S right off the bat when I got behind it, because it had dual exhaust tips, and I was like, what? That's not normal for that car. And as I got closer and closer and closer, sure enough, it was a TLX Type S, which I can appreciate those. Those are cool.
I don't think I've seen a new Type S. I've seen TLXs, yep, but I don't think I've seen the new TLX Type S.
Let me give you a couple numbers.
Looking at pictures of it, I'm already a fan.
Yes. We're talking 350 horsepower. Okay. From
Not
a
horrible.
3-liter turbo V6.
Okay.
Around 350 pound-feet of torque. And it has their super handling all-wheel drive.
All right.
I don't know what. Yeah, I don't really know what super handling is, but it's got all-wheel drive.
I'm sure it's got torque vectoring things, and I don't know.
Probably. It looked very good to my eye. It looked sleek. Back end looked decent.
I do like the look of it.
I do think it's slightly underpowered, maybe?
I think you're right. I think that car needs 415 horsepower.
I think like 400 to 450, somewhere in there would be perfect.
Yeah, we could find that slotted in at like 415, 420 horsepower, that would make that car perfect, especially when you compare it to the new 400Z. I mean, it's two different apples and oranges here, but if we're sticking 400 horsepower in a 400Z, surely the TLX can get at least 400 horsepower in it if it's going to be a big and heavy like that.
I'm with you, but the price is only 52 grand.
Only, or man, that price is 52 grand.
I say only, but now that I'm thinking about that, I might be saying it's 52 grand.
Because the more I think about that, the more I think, oh, wow, that's 52 grand.
And that's starting at 52 grand.
Which means you're 55 grand, 58 grand, 60 grand.
Yeah, you're probably in the mid-60s, honestly. Okay, for mid-60s, I rescind my it's only. For mid 60s, you better be getting at least 450 horsepower out of it. It looks decent to at least our eyes. It's probably pretty comfortable. It's an Acura. It's going to be somewhat reliable. It's an Acura. And you probably will be able to fit a decent amount of stuff in the boot. It's like your normal average guy's car that's going to be going to work and back, right?
Yeah. It looks like someone that works in maybe a new finance guy would buy that.
Okay. I'm with you on that.
I like
Maybe
it, but I don't like it for 55 to 60 grand.
Yeah.
I like it for 48 grand.
I think we can agree on that. I am with you. The price is a little over where it should be considering just the performance numbers. Maybe it's got some crazy luxury stuff up its sleeve, but I don't know. I haven't driven it.
And maybe with its super handling all-wheel drive, maybe it drives like an $80,000 car. I don't know, but I just, based upon the numbers, that car would be better at 45 to 48 grand, in my opinion.
I'm with you. So the next car that I saw was an Aston Martin, and it was actually two of them. I saw two separate Astons, two separate new Vantages, which I know you love the Vantage.
I do, yes. It is actually, you know what? It is actually Bond Week, FYI. So Aston has been big on social. They've redone their James Bond DB5. So they did it with the mini guns and the headlights. They did all the cool Bond stuff. They just yes. So there's been some really Aston stuff going on social this week.
The more I see the Vantage, the prettier it is.
I agree.
That car is very pretty.
Yeah, it is just a painting. I just want to sit back and oogle it.
It is a painting with also 500 horsepower.
I like 500 horsepower paintings.
I do too. I wish that Acura had 500 horsepower. But what do you happen to know the price of these Astons? Because I don't think they're particularly cheap.
Believe they're about 180 grand.
Oh, okay.
Well, hold on though. You gawk a little bit, but stop, because if we are comparing the Vantage to its competitors, it is a bit expensive because its competitor. This is a kind of the base model Aston. We're not talking about a DBS. We're talking about a Vantage, right? So the baby Aston.
Yes.
So in theory, it should be competing with a Porsche 911. It should be competing with what we'll call it I guess that would be like an Audi R8, maybe? Like a base model Audi R8.
Okay, I'll give you that.
It should be competing. So it's not far off the ballpark of everything else, because I believe if you're getting a new 911 Carrera S, not like a GT3, but just a 911 Carrera S, you're probably 120, 130 grand, 150 by the time you spec it out. If you're getting an Audi R8, you're probably 180, 200 grand. So I think it's kind of in the general area. It's not like 400 grand where everything else it's competing with is 100 grand. So it is a bit expensive for what it is, but it's just so damn pretty. Oh my God, it's beautiful.
I know. I guess that you're shelling out a lot of money for that beauty.
And pause time, because you can get it in a manual transmission as well.
Ooh. Okay. That could be a deal breaker for some people.
I like that. I like that you can get it in a manual.
Yep. You know the interior is going to be exquisite. It's an Aston. You know it's probably going to break down on you. It's an Aston.
It's to be expected, but while you're sitting there waiting for the tow truck, you can just look at it, and that's what matters.
It should come with an easel and a paintbrush. It's an Aston.
Yeah. Oh yes, absolutely.
And a cup of tea.
Absolutely. Of course. 100%. That would be a great car to blast through the hills in England and then just look at it.
It totally would be. And I love that car. The more I see it, the more pretty it is. But that's not actually my car spot of the week.
Oh, what is your car spot of the week then? If the pretty Vantage is not your spot of the week,
So
you
I think
must
that
have
it
seen
was
something pretty good then.
last podcast that you said that, me and you are getting very good at this, seeing a car and knowing exactly what it is based off of headlights or taillights or something like that. Well, I spotted a car on my way out and about this week that stumped me, kind of like the Noble did to you.
Ooh, what was it?
And those are always interesting because you have to double take and triple take what you're looking at. And then it popped into my head exactly what it was. I happened to see, and I think that there's one around town. It is a red Saline S7.
Oh,
Yes.
that's hot. God,
Salines
that's
are
hot.
pretty damn cool.
That's such a cool freaking car. Oh, I loved the Saline S7 back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
God, I loved that car so much. You saw one in town?
I did. They were going out to the country club or the fancy place around us. So it does make sense as to that's where it would preside. But let me tell you a couple figures about the Saline S7. Its production ran between 2000 and 2009, so it's not a particularly new car, but it hasn't aged by any mean. 750 horsepower on a 7-liter V8. 7 liters.
That's a lot of sevens. S7, 7-liter V8, 700 plus horsepower. That's a lot of horsepower.
With a curb weight of 3,000 pounds.
Oh my God, I didn't realize there was that much of a monster. 700 plus horsepower with only 3,000 pounds?
3,000 pounds. I don't know how you would ever keep it on the ground. I don't know how the tires would ever stick with that kind of power.
I did not realize it was that powerful. I thought, I kind of had the idea it's probably 550 horsepower, probably 3,200, 3,300 pounds. That's kind of where my brain thought. I didn't realize it was that light and that powerful. Oh my God, that's fast.
Bonkers
Jesus.
Powerful. The rear tires are 335 by 30s. So they're some wide boys.
That's some beef.
It's a thick boy in the rear. And your MPG is 10 miles to the gallon in the city.
You know what? I'm actually impressed that is double digits.
And 17 on the highway.
Actually impressed that is double digits from a 7-liter V8. But let's be honest. If someone like you or I was driving this, you know damn well that's not going to be a double-digit MPG. That'll be 2.
No.
Because everywhere we go, that foot will go to the floor just because you listen to a 7-liter V8. Oh, my God.
Yes, it would. This car seems bonkers to me. I would almost be scared to drive it, I think.
Good. I love this car. It's ridiculous. I loved it before I knew the numbers because it has always been like that early 2000s poster child, like wet dream supercar of like, oh my God, we dream of this car because it's just so cool. I didn't realize how powerful it was.
I didn't realize how powerful it was either, but it really confused me when I initially saw it. And I had to take like a triple take, and I had to go like Google a couple other. I was looking at Nobles, and then I was like, oh yeah, it wasn't a Noble. It could have been a Saline, and I Googled the Saline, and I was like, that's it. That's crazy.
That's wild. I know there's one red one that lives around town. I don't know of any others.
Yep, and it was going the other way. Car. If it was going with me, I definitely would have tried to get some photos of it or something. But super, super cool spot.
That's really cool. That's a mega spot. Massive props to you for that car spot of the week. That's a big spot. That's big. Big, 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 big.
All right, so now I'd like to see you top that one.
I can't top that even close. One thing I did see, well, a couple things I saw. I saw two new Mark 8 GTIs being tested out again. Had their
Oh yeah.
manufacturers plate on, which means they're probably still doing some very last minute testing.
Hmm.
What was special about them is because I saw them in two colors. One, which is one of my favorite colors, uh, Dolphin Gray and Deep Black Pearl. So deep black, that's just black, right? But Dolphin Gray, that's almost like Audi's Nardo Gray, Porsche's Chalk, that like not matte but not metallic flat gray. I
Okay.
really, 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 really like that gray on cars. That is, I love that gray. That like kind of darkish, off whitish, kind of grayish. But yeah, I'm a
That
big
gray
fan.
looks
Big.
good on. It looks good on certain cars, especially cars that are not particularly mass produced. It doesn't look good on Civics, right?
Actually, you know what? I saw a Civic in that gray, and I didn't mind it.
Really?
I didn't mind it.
Okay.
Didn't mind it. I just
Hmm.
like that gray. I just really like that gray.
Okay.
Call me crazy. Yeah, so that was a couple things I saw. Wanted to point out the dolphin gray color, which is new to be put on the Mark 8 GTIs. Then the next thing I saw, which stumped me a bit, but when I looked a little harder, I could see it had a Euro plate on, which described what it was. But it was a 1987 Citroen CX-25.
Whoa.
Yeah, it
What?
was that. Something. That is what it was. So it's a French car, so it's a Citroen, which means it's weird and funky and odd and confusing, and it's got strange shapes, and it just looks absolutely nothing like any car that's made here whatsoever at all. Zero. It's
Did it
completely
cover?
different.
Did it cover
The
the rear wheels?
real? Yes, it did.
Okay. I
There's a couple of these Citroens around town.
There are. I
Yeah.
think that's the Citroen that might have been at the car show not too long ago around town, but it's a cool spot.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, I was at a light and I looked over. I was like, what the hell is that thing? And I did a little more looking, and yeah, it's a weird, funky, strange, odd. And it's also, it almost, even though I know the rear wheels are covered a bit with by the bodywork, it almost looks like the rear wheels aren't actually like in line with the front wheels. Like the rear wheels are almost inboard a little bit more.
Yeah, I know what you're talking
Like
about.
if you look at it from the back, the whole back of the car almost like it comes to a point in the back. It's freaking weird looking, man. I mean, it's cool it's odd, it's different. It doesn't look anything else like what we see on the roads right now, which is why I was like, oh, that's very odd, and that's kind of cool.
I think that's one of the Citroens that when you start it up, the airbags raise the whole car up a little bit for comfort purposes.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, the French are weird, dude. God,
The French are odd.
the French cars are freaking strange. Yeah, so that was one of my spots. I also spotted something that is more near and dear to my heart, a Porsche, but it was a replica, so it was a kit car, which no, I'm not a fan of. I normally don't care about kit cars. Now, I didn't get close enough to inspect and confirm that it was a kit car, but if it wasn't a kit car, that'd be ridiculous because these things are like $500,000 or something ridiculous like that. But a Porsche, like an original Porsche Speedster, like a
Oh,
56 or 58 Speedster. It's a common car that people do replicas of, kit cars of. Um, as long as you understand that it is kind of a kit car and a replica, that would be a great car to have to just kind of enjoy the drive.
mm-hmm.
It's not the fastest. It would be light. It would just be comfortable. Well, not no, it wouldn't be comfortable at all. Pardon me. No, it would be light. It would make a nice little noise. There's kind of not much of it. It's just a small, little, enjoyable little shoe of a car. There's no way it was a real one because they're worth stupid money now. But it had to be a replica. But a little Porsche Speedster, like an OG Speedster.
Cool.
So
That's a
that
cool
was another
spot.
spot.
I have seen those as replicas before.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of neat. I saw it, made a great little noise as it puttered by. But my spot of the week is coming right out of the cartoons.
What?
Yes. So, did you ever watch cartoons as a kid? Or were you
Yeah.
a cyborg from the beginning?
I wish.
All right. Did you ever watch Scooby Doo?
Yeah.
All right. Do you remember the Mystery Machine?
You saw the Mystery Machine?
I saw the Mystery Machine. Yeah, I saw the Scooby Doo Mystery Machine. It was being towed.
It was
Yeah,
being. Oh.
like the legit Scooby Doo Mystery Machine was being towed. Saw it.
Did it have an exhaust that came out the front and up the hood?
I don't. I have to go back and look at the pictures because I passed it because it was going like 2 miles an hour on the highway and I was doing every bit of 70. So I went cruising on past. But as I was passing, I was like, "Oh my god, it's the Mystery Machine!" I had the full
Yes.
paint scheme and everything. So I don't know any specs about it at all. I don't
Okay.
know if it was real or replica, but it was really cool.
If it is the Mystery Machine I'm thinking of, and was it near the Freedom Factory by chance?
Nope, it was actually on the Sunshine Skyway Bridge.
So it could have been heading to the Freedom Factory. Okay.
It was
The
other way, but maybe from the Freedom Factory.
from the okay. The reason I say that is because Cletus did build the Mystery Machine at one point, and he put a Mazda RX-7 rotary, I think a 3-rotor in it, and it has an exhaust that comes up the front and goes basically right into your line of sight. Like it goes up the windshield and it just spits fire out it as he'll do burnouts in it.
So this one did not. So this was,
Okay.
I have a picture of it because I was able to quickly snap a picture of it. That is the Mystery Machine that I saw.
Okay, that is not the Mystery Machine I'm talking about.
But
Still cool though.
yeah. Yeah, that's my spot of the week is the Mystery Machine because it's just rare and odd and different. And yeah, it's my spot of the week.
Nice. Cool.
I think so too.
So let's move on to the I wish they would have.
Ooh, all right.
Do you
Let's get
happen
into
to have an I wish they would have?
I do. I do. This is more of a convenience thing and kind of just an annoyance thing.
I love the convenience ones. They're the ones that make so much sense.
They do. So you remember a couple of weeks ago you were telling me about the air pump, your tire pressures, and you went to like 8 different gas stations and none of the pumps worked, right?
Yes, my wife did that yesterday as well. She went to a bunch of
Oh.
different gas stations and got frustrated.
I did the same thing the other day as well.
Fantastic.
Yes, but I will tell you, there is a gas station called Wawa that has free air. I wish that other gas stations would do the free air thing because that is such a great thing. It's not like crazy eating into your bottom line. And it's really freaking annoying to be digging through your car looking for quarters going, God damn it, I just need 3 PSI in one tire and I got to dig through a pile of change just to get 8 quarters for $2. I just wish that like way more gas stations would do the whole free air thing.
I couldn't agree more. And it is a pain in the butt. Now, I think that there's a better solution here. And I think that my wife figured out the solution the other day when she was in her quandary. So she put in her work chat. She was like, hey, I got low tire pressure. Can anybody help me out? And somebody actually happened to have a little tire pump that you plug into your cigarette lighter that can go up to like 50 PSI or something like that. So they just brought that out, plugged it in, ramped up the tire pressures, and you're done. And I think that your I wish they would have should probably be, why don't all cars come with one of those?
I like that even better. Yeah, that's a much better I wish it would have. But yeah, I just wish like air for your tires was way more accessible. It wasn't like you wouldn't have to dig through change. You wouldn't have to go on a journey through over the hill and through the woods to grandmother's house just to find one gas station that has a goddamn working air pump. I just wish it was way more accessible. Let's put it that way.
It's all right here. You just got to take it and you got to put it into your tire. That's
yeah.
it.
Just like yes, there we go. It's done.
Unless it's nitrogen, in which case you got to go sort that out later somewhere else.
Yeah, that's a different story. But
Yes.
I wish there was more free air pumps, and or I wish that cars came with a little air pump that came with the car that could just plug into your cigarette lighter and be done with it.
It seems so simple. Why can't they do it?
I agree. So do you have an I wish they would have, Derek?
I do.
Okay.
Do you ever get annoyed when you're in stop and go traffic?
Well, of course. Who doesn't?
Do you ever get annoyed when you're in stop and go traffic and you got a manual?
When I had a manual, yes, and it was pathetic. I hated it so much, especially because I had it when I lived in Nashville, where there was hills. Now that flipping sucks when you're in a manual in dead stop traffic going up a never-ending hill.
That would be the worst. I can't say I've done the same because here in Florida there are no hills. But there is something called the e-brake, and that will sort out your hill problem, at least if you're good enough to use it at the same time.
Yes, I did use that, but it's still just a pain in the ass.
It is. So, I wish they would have. I want to have a manual transmission. Manual transmissions are great. It's a lost art. But I don't want to have one when I'm in stop and go traffic and when I'm on hills. I wish that I could have the best of both worlds.
You can't have your cake and eat it too, Derek.
Why can't I have the ability to transfer between an automatic and a manual whenever I want to?
Because the manual purist will kill you.
Why? It's convenience.
The whole point of having a manual is not to be convenient.
No. You have to understand that if you're a car company, your number one goal is to make the customer want to buy your car, right? You engineer and build the car for the customer. You don't engineer and build the car for the purist. You don't engineer and build the car for the team that's putting the car together to be as efficient as possible. You don't engineer it for the mechanic that's going to change the oil later. You build the car for the customer. And if the customer wants both a manual and an automatic transmission, figure out a way to do it, damn it. Because nothing is impossible, and we've sent freaking people to the moon, and you can make this happen, okay?
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this is not going to happen. They already make the semi-automatics. They make the double clutches. They make all the what they call, the cool kids nowadays call the slap shifts. Yeah. I like it. It would be great because then you can properly heel toe, but you also don't have to worry about all that crap. Wait a minute. Hold on. The Veloster N, they've eliminated the need for blipping the throttle on downshifts.
Yep.
I know, and I'm trying to think. I think the second gen Toyota Tacoma from like 2006 to 2015, I believe if you bought that with a manual, I think they started doing like a manual hill assist where you didn't actually have to clutch out or clutch in to start moving on a hill.
Okay. We're inching closer.
I think that did exist, actually, kind of. I don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure the second gen Tacoma introduced like a hill start assist thing where you didn't have to constantly go back and forth on the clutch and the handbrake and the clutch and the handbrake and the clutch and the handbrake to go hill starting.
If a Tesla can teach itself to drive around humans, there's no damn reason you cannot program a car to clutch in for you, shift from first to second gear, and clutch out for you. It's very doable. Why
I like
has no
where
one
you're
done
going
this?
with that. I like the idea, but it's not going to happen, Derek. I'm sorry.
I think you're right, but it should be done.
I agree. It should be done, but it won't. But it should be done.
That's all I have.
All right,
I rest my
so,
case.
Yes, the jury will deliberate. All right, so I guess if that's it, let's wrap up episode 31, shall we?
Sounds good.
All right, so thank you all so much for listening to episode 31 of the We Are Auto Show. Please, if you could, leave us a 5-star rating and write a review or comment on our Apple iTunes podcasts or wherever you listen. Make sure you share the show with your friends, take a screenshot of it, and share it to your social. Thank you to everyone who has been sharing it over Instagram at WeAreAuto_, Facebook WeAreAuto, TikTok at WeAreAuto, and we are now getting up onto YouTube at We Are Auto, so you'll be able to start watching these podcasts. How freaking cool is that? Also, send us your I wish they would if you could, please. We'd love to cover them on air. And again, thank you all so much for listening, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.
Peace.